freaking love this movie. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I have a lot of love for it. There's a lot of dumb moments in the movie, but this is a movie we never should have got in the first place.
It's absolutely funny because this film, and sorry if you all are getting reception. I got the kids' baby monitor right now. Got some stuff going on. Um, Freddy versus Jason is a movie that I feel like people who love it, which I am one of many, agree that it's got its problems, but we put all those aside for the film that we got because we shouldn't have got it with the way that the record was. I mean, Slash of the Titans is a book that you can pick up that just has failed script idea after failed write-up after this, after that, and there's a couple really good ideas, and quite a few of them got pulled for this film. I think everybody that I've talked to at least can agree that this should be Kane Hodder, and Jason should be a little bit less sympathetic. I think the sympathetic angle works for Jason in the film, but I think they do it a little too much. Like, we always had that sympathy for Jason before, and we kind of got separated from that with the later sequels. And we didn't really need it. Didn't need it.
Well, we've talked about this before, and this is the first movie before this movie, we hadn't seen really anything with Pamela and Jason. Like, now, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but it's free and it's on YouTube. But Never Hike in the Snow actually delves deeper into the relationship of Pamela and Jason, post Pamela's death. So this movie actually taps into that and doesn't get a whole lot of credit for that. I think it was a nice angle. And that manipulation between Freddy and Jason, and this is literally coming off of the heels of Jason Goes to Hell. This kind of also leads me into the theory that Freddy was more than just controlling Jason and telling him where to go. He was more like slightly in control, not just by tricking him, but also in his brain. And that's where he goes a little deeper later. And it's a scene where most people don't like with the water. I think it's more psychological, and it represents the trauma and the effect that Freddy's having on him, and the fear of the water, of what happened, and he drowned, he's dying again, he's in over his head. So there's a lot of things that go into this movie that I really like. This movie's crazy, dude. Like you said, we shouldn't have had it. They tried to get this going since the 80s. They had 17 scripts, and they shoved it all together to make this movie. So like you said, I love this movie. We never should have got it. And what's crazier, though, is if they would have either done the ending like they originally planned with Pinhead, the sequel could have been next level amazing to watch, because that would give Freddy some credibility for the Dream Demons. And then also the Necronomicon feeds into Jason, creates this whole world. And then, or if they would have gone the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, you bring in the Necronomicon, you have Freddy and Jason with some inner turmoil, and they combine to be kind of one character for a little while, and just Ash to play off of. Either way, I'm super glad we got this movie, and I'm super sad we didn't get a sequel. But, and I don't understand. How did this movie not get a sequel? This movie had a $30 million budget, and it made $114 million. How did it not get a sequel? I know Robert Englund was done, but I just don't understand.
So, actually, I was going to text you this earlier today, and I didn't know how to word it through text. So I decided to save it for this video, actually. What I think happened, honestly, is between Robert Englund saying, "That's it, I'm done with the torch for now," with the issues with, we hired Ken Kritzinger to do Jason, and Kane Hodder is like very upset about it.
Yeah.
And the Halloween remake. For, like we said in the review and commentary for that, when it came out, it was the standard for the remake. I don't know why. I don't know how. And we have talked about this because we both felt it too. Like, when it first came out, it was the remake. It was the one. It was the best one. And now it's bottom two. Anyways, but at the time that made bank, so Platinum Dunes got the license, and they're like, well, we could do this, or You saw that Halloween remake made a bunch of money. Let's reboot Freddy and Jason if Robert Englund's done anyways. And we're not there yet. One day we will cover the Nightmare on Elm Street remake because I have a lot to say about that movie. The thing they did right was Jackie Earle Haley.
Mhm.
Bar none, I don't think they could have picked a better actor to portray Freddy after Robert.
Yeah, I think he's great.
Everything else about that movie, problems galore.
Yeah,
But
he felt the most like Freddy from Freddy's Revenge in Part Two.
yeah,
So good.
he was scary. I mean that like what was that line where he cut him and he's like, "We have X amount of seconds left," and
Yeah. Yeah,
the
he's like, yeah.
dude in the
Did you know the
theater,
brain
I
still
was
lives
like,
for 7 minutes? It's only been two, so we have another 5 minutes to play.
yeah, and his little giggle there in the theater,
Yeah,
you're like this. Wait, am I in a theater? Did he just say that? And I'm in a theater because that. I mean, you have to think the horror movies John and I were able to see in theaters, from our ages, like Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, films like that, where there was an obvious line about what horror was at the time and what was allowed to play. So then going in and seeing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot, which is arguably very dark, the Halloween reboot, which is just like, holy crap, what's happening? And then that line with Freddy, it was just so perfectly dark that the whole theater, like, you could feel them stop for that
right.
moment alone. But I do think it has to do with the reboot wave. Like, I do think maybe if Robert Englund was like, maybe I'll do one more, we could have pushed and gotten it instead of the graphic novel, which I still don't have. I I want it, I just don't have it.
That's pretty pricey, isn't it?
Last time I looked a couple years ago, yes. So was I can't remember the name of it exactly, but it's like if Jason X, when he goes into, gets launched out of the ship and survives, runs into modern Freddy versus Jason. So it's like Kane Hodder versus Ken Kritzinger. And I want that too, but I don't own it. And oddly
Dude,
enough, I also really want Jason versus Leatherface because it's hilarious. That I have read.
is it now here? Like, just hear me out for a second, and we'll get to the movie here in just a second. But I have a question. Like, you know
Mhm.
how Marvel's doing the What If series right now? They're doing the like, what if this character was actually this character, and this didn't happen, but this happened? What if they threw some money at like the Halloween franchise and the Friday the 13th franchise, and they're just like, what if? And they just did what if we did a sequel to 4, and that's a whole episode, an hour and a half? What if we did an episode to 5? And you just had a whole season of what if we picked up from here and here and here, and then you do season 2, what if we did pick up from 4, we have a new 5 part 2? I think for 5 or for Halloween and for Friday the 13th, that would play really well. I don't think it would play really well for Nightmare on Elm Street, but for Halloween and Friday the 13th, I think that'd be pretty sweet.
I think it could work for Nightmare if you could go back and sequel the first one instead of like 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But I think this idea is great. Personally, the movie that I have always wanted and it seems to never like hit the forefront is after Resurrection.
Yeah.
Halloween Resurrection. Sorry. I want burnt Michael Myers getting up. I want him going like Halloween 2018 style rampage. And I want him to wind up in the asylum with the script of God, I hate myself for not knowing where it is.
Halloween Returns.
Halloween Returns. You clue that into that film as well, so you get Michael escaping that fire and just going, no mask, just going through gutting people like crazy. And I
Yeah.
think, well, this isn't a spoiler because John saw the first like 10 seconds of the second trailer. I feel like that kind of pays like a tribute to that script when he's tearing through the firefighters. Because it was
Right.
the first responders and the other patients that he was taking out in that script.
Right. Right.
But I want that so bad. I would also love to see a film pick up where Friday the 13th Part 8 leaves off. Like, what? Explain what's going on. I also like the slime Jason look. Everybody knows this. That's probably my first or second favorite Jason. It depends on the day. So more slime ball Jason. I'm all for it.
It's so funny you bring up the mask right there because you just cosplayed. If anybody saw our Crypticon videos, Caleb went as Jason from Freddy vs. Jason, and I was actually going to send you a meme of Freddy vs. Jason, and I was going to say, hey, will you please wear this because you have a face that only a mother could love.
I really thought about, so I'm not going to lie, earlier today, if Wesley would have cooperated just a little more, I was thinking about answering in the Jason getup, but it would take me like 10 minutes to get back out of.
Right. Right.
So no, I like that idea. I think it would be fun, but I think somebody's going to have to get the rights for both of them, or all three of them. Even toss in TCM, Hellraiser, toss in a lot of them, and we can do this. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Problem is, horror only sells in short waves. Like right now, we're in the middle of a weird period where we've got paranormal still peaking, and also slashers are making a comeback. Well, paranormal hasn't gone anywhere. The Conjuring universe is still going strong. Insidious wound up with another sequel that they weren't supposed to get. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I love the first Conjuring, but
everything's kind of fading out. Like Conjuring 3 did not do well across the board. Most people didn't like it. Like Insidious is all but dead except for the diehards. Like what's the other one? Paranormal Activity's dead. Yeah, it's dead. They just spent $400 million. They just spent $400 million to buy the rights for The Exorcist for a trilogy. I have no idea how you're going to interest people in a new Exorcist movie, even though they're bringing back some original characters. This is a franchise that obviously was the beginning of exorcisms, of possessions, right? But how many movies have we had where there's a possession? I mean, The Conjuring is very relevant in almost every movie. They've got a possession. Like Insidious, like all these movies with a possession. How do you make The Exorcist relevant today?
How do you make it scary again? How do you make it... I see where... Also, with the Exorcist title, you have a huge name to live up to. Huge name. The first Exorcist film, it is a flagship horror film. Like, that's one of the movies that I think almost every horror fan, whether they enjoy the film or not, recognize its position as a leader in the horror community. And that's not an easy title to try and replicate. And I feel like that's why the Exorcist movies, like Exorcism of Emily Rose and stuff, they took the concepts but kind of moved over here with it. So that way it could be separated from the franchise, which is a smart move in my opinion. But
it's a good movie though.
Reboot, that might not work.
It's going to make some money, right? This is a huge, Blumhouse has got a lot of money. They're going to market it. It's going to make some money just because it's set up for, they do cheap movies. They pump them out. They do a formulaic, blah, 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 blah. It's what people want to see, and they'll shove it out there. But as far as it being like, the reason that The Conjuring works is because it's more about the characters and what they're going through. It's a mom that's rich and famous and has no faith. It's about a priest that's losing his faith and all this stuff. Like, it's about the characters and this innocent girl who's going through all this. I don't know if you can capture that today because today's society doesn't want to see that slow build, that development of character. But we'll find out. Let's get back to Freddy vs. Jason because we'll go crazy here.
Time out. I want to make 1 point. 1 point. Candyman's a slow build, and you have a problem with that. Now we can move on.
It's 45 minutes for him to hit the scene, man.
He shows up in the first 5 minutes.
No, he doesn't.
He kills Get out of here with that. In the opening.
Get out of here with that. He is a flash in a mirror. Get out of here.
Real quick, a little tidbit of horror news. On top of that, with the news, have you finally watched Dexter or no?
No, I just can't. I want
Man,
to. I know that season nine's coming out, and everybody's super excited because season eight sucked. But
well, you've got that right. Well, at least the last episode ruined it. But just a real quick thing I wanted to say. People, when you post things online about your theories of what the season's going to be or what the movie's going to be or whatever, and for once, for the first time ever, the trailer didn't dead give it away, unlike most horror and sci-fi action movies in the past 15 years. Put like a, hey, this is my theory, before you just blurt it out. Because somebody posted a theory about what this season is, and now I'm just underwhelmed because that's what it's going to be. Like, you can just see it. Like, and it sucks. And I hope that if they do anything else, it won't make sense at all. So now I would be disappointed if they don't do it, but I'm also going to be disappointed if they do it because this dude just posted the perfect theory. It was just like, yeah, it looks good. So you're reading the comment, it's like, man, this looks really good. The tone looks great. It looks like they're kind of taken away from, also, this is what it's going to be. And you're like, no paragraph break? No, like, caution, this is kind of what I think it might be. Like, logically, you could get there on your own, but when somebody waves it in front of you, you're like, oh.
yeah.
I won't say the name, but thank you to the person who commented that. Your name is forever stuck with me. And you have ruined Dexter Season 9 for me. And that hurts.
Well, maybe he'll change your expectations, and you'll end up liking it because maybe it will be something else. Maybe they'll put a little bit more thought into it. And but I just want to say there is no, and that I've seen. I haven't seen Dexter, but there is no worse season finale than Roseanne. Now I haven't seen the new seasons. I think they course corrected that error, but that season finale of Roseanne was hot, steaming garbage.
No.
Just saying.
Watch through all of Dexter and sit through that final episode without throwing something through your television.
All
That
right,
is American. House. Okay. Did you ever watch House?
I watched some of House. I really like it. It's just after a while, it was just too much of the same stuff. It's like ER. It's phenomenal, but it's so much of the same stuff. It kind of loses me.
The first 3 or 4 seasons of House are impeccable and great, and then it just kind of drags on. Then they try to branch out, and it doesn't work. But then in the last season, they did something right. They did the final episode right. At the time, everybody was super mad about it. And I remember I was late getting to it because I didn't have like live TV, and this was before it would stream the next day on Hulu or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I had to wait for it. And I watched the episode, and I was like, it ended okay. Like, it ended logically for the main character and his friend. Like, I mean, it sucks. It's not like a peaceful, happy ending, but it fits. Thanos? Was that Thanos?
No, that was my signed copy of Never Hike Alone by Vincent.
Oh, speaking of, when you asked why I didn't get it, I was a backer.
Oh, you got a red case.
Yeah. 1139 of 1750 of the original batch. This is a cool DVD Blu-ray combo.
You could have at least gotten Never Hike in the Snow.
I thought about it, but I was also kind of strapped for cash. Like, so this con that we just went to, I was not adequately financially prepared. And what mattered to me the most was Lisa Zane's autograph, which I've explained why before. I don't have the time to deal with that because he will argue with me. And Tyler Maine's autograph. Those were my main 2 things. After that, I was like, it's fine. I'll just pass.
All right. Well, hey, let's try to sync up real quick. I'm on the New Line, or at least I
Yeah.
was before it. I'm on New Line Cinema, and everything just kind of got into focus and is in a stop.
Okay, so New Line's in focus.
Yeah,
Does it
with just
actually
a
say
little bit of
Orange
ring of
New
red.
Line Cinema?
Huh?
It doesn't say New Line Home Entertainment.
It says New Line Cinema, and it's got yeah.
This is what happens when you have different editions because you are watching the Blu-ray.
You're watching. Why are you watching the DVD?
I don't have it on Blu-ray.
Oh my God, man, you're killing me. I literally have 5 copies of it on Blu-ray.
You keep trying to sell me stuff and I'm going to go broke. I'm trying to build the H2 Myers here, and that is really expensive. Really expensive.
You need to
I
up
can't
your
afford to buy
physical
all your
media
movies.
game. You need to up your
What?
physical media game.
Dude, I mean, you did. Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday. Okay.
Thanks.
So let's hit pause and see if it goes in the same, or let's hit play and see if it goes, in line. All right, on 3, 2, 1, go. An AOL company.
Hold on, mine's still singing.
Okay, I'm at the boiler room. It's like boom, boom. And I paused.
Mine's to another New Line screen.
Okay, get to the boiler room, and it's got like this vent thing in the side of a tank.
Ladies and gentlemen, one day we will perfect this. Today is not that day. All right,
I
so I
figured
see
you
the
had this
vent
on
coming
Blu-ray.
up, the pole, and then like the shelves with the work stuff on it.
Right, that's where I'm at right now. So, for those of you that don't know, Caleb was watching this on DVD. I'm watching this on Blu-ray. I'm watching the Shout Factory edition, which is from that box set right there. But unfortunately, it is the exact same Blu-ray that's in that copy right there in the 2013 Blu-ray pack. It's also the same Blu-ray as the 3-pack of the remake 2009's Jason and the remake 2010's Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street, and then Freddy vs. Jason in that pack. So it's kind of stupid, ridiculous, but
Real quick, before we get started here, he gave the story of his. Mine is
I
the
have that.
old school original release. I lived 10-minute walk from a Blockbuster where I grew up. After it released on DVD, I knew the date it was releasing. I walked to that Blockbuster and reserved my copy. I couldn't buy it because I wasn't an adult, but I put the money down and they would hold it so you could return with an adult. And when my dad got off work, we went up there, I bought it. And I was probably the only idiot who deposited on a copy of Freddy vs. Jason because there was still plenty left when I got there. But yeah, this 2-disc special edition. It's even old enough that next to the title, I don't know if it'll focus, or next to the picture, it says horror. Because do you remember that? In the late 90s, early thousands, they'd be like comedy, action, horror, suspense. Man,
right now,
it was just a different time.
I actually have that DVD as well. I think it's in my for sale stack. Really, I mean, like I said, this movie doesn't really need it. So anyway, we're getting ready to start the 2003 Freddy vs. Jason, starring Ken Kersinger, Robert Englund, John Ritter's son. I think is it Jason Ritter or Josh Ritter? I don't know. And then the gal's name, who I'll never remember. Directed by Ronnie Yu. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Here we go. We're at the boiler room right after New Line Cinema credits. It's got the little elbow there with the shelves. And
this is one of our favorite movies, and I don't care who says what. I love this movie. I will never not love this movie. Also, real quick, side note, the soundtrack, as a metalhead, thank you.
Right. This is also the movie that gave us AVP, so that's awesome. This is my first experience with Freddy in the theaters and Jason, so this is why I have a sweet spot for it in my heart. It also does a really good job of representing Freddy from at least 1 through 3. Does a pretty good job of representing Jason-ish for 1 through Jason Goes to Hell. So I love this movie. A lot of nostalgia. 3 times watched it in theaters. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, engage. Play. It's not working. There you go. It's working. No, mute. Throwing the doll in the oven.
I think it's absolutely hilarious that Ronnie Yu is the one who got this. Like,
right, and he didn't really.
All the people.
Well, he did. He did Bride of Chucky, and then he did this, and then he really didn't do a whole lot in the States.
I mean, did he need to? He probably made a killing off of these 2 films.
Yeah, probably not. But I think, in the States is where a lot of the money's at, and I think he was kind of done with horror. But after these 2 movies, this is what he was known for, so that's probably why he bailed on it. This is such a good recap of Freddy 1 through 3. This is him before he dies. It shows what happens 1 through 3. It shows the parents. God, this is good stuff, man. This is such a good way to start the movie. Like I said, 17 scripts, and this is what we got. Phenomenal.
One of the things that I'm kind of surprised that they only hint at instead of using is in one of the earlier scripts. They made it so Freddy was haunting kid Jason's nightmares. And that they only do in that dream sequence where he's a kid.
Well, that's just him tapping back into his traumatic experiences as a child. See, yeah, we got Nightmare 1, there's 2. That's 4 though, so I guess they do actually acknowledge 4 in this. I kind of forgot about that. My bad. I personally would have deleted it because if you pick up Freddy in Hell from 3, it works better.
They just showed Freddy's dead.
Yeah, they did. So, my bad. It's a blink and you'll miss it, but really they focus on 1 through 3, but they do give enough. Oh, shut your hole. This intro's so good.
The CGI teeth now mess with me. They didn't used to.
Yeah, I mean it's 2003. I'm used to it. I mean, if that's not gonna bother you, are these fake boobs gonna bother you? Like, it's 2003. It's a product of its time.
Everything's fake in 2003.
God dang! Even in 2009, they still had fake boobs. Nothing against fake boobs. I don't want to be. All of a sudden, there's gonna be this huge backlash for fake boobs.
It's all your fault too. But it did a really good job of transitioning. That's one thing this movie does. Transitioning from the Nightmare Freddy world to Jason's camp. Like, this is a good camp feel. That was a good Freddy feel. Well,
and this is a good dream feel too. Like it's very simple. It's got the dock. It's got some woods. The water is see-through enough to where you can still see her underwater. It's got a good dream feel to it. So you don't feel robbed when you find out it's a dream.
Yeah. See,
the girl's playing a teenager. She's so 28.
I do love this Jason design. And a lot of people don't. What I don't like is the slow-mo Frankenstein's monster. I mean, it's fine. I don't absolutely hate it, but it also just takes away from Jason's menacing origins.
But it fits with the idea of the movie. He just needed Jason to go there to Elm Street, kill a few people, and then go back to Camp Crystal Lake. for the most part, that this is something where I can forgive it a little bit because it makes sense for the story, the plot of the story. I completely agree with you that Kane Hodder, with his physicality, with his breathing, with his intensity, would have knocked this out of the park way more than Ken Kersinger. But for this movie, I can make it work and make it palatable and stomach it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I still watch it. I still enjoy this film. I watch this movie multiple times a year. Like this is a staple film. Do not get that wrong, but part 7 Jason in this, could you imagine
Right.
how
Well, dude,
brutal?
I wish they would have gotten Betsy Palmer to do Jason's mom, but the girl who does this does a phenomenal job.
She does
But
really good.
I completely understand Betsy Palmer not wanting to come back. I mean, this is a significant role because it plays to the to the heart of the of Jason's reasons why. But really, I
Yeah.
mean, she's there for like 2 days and she's gone.
Yeah.
I think actors kind of forget how much 2 days worth of shooting can really impact and really be important to the fans. Like even though it's just a little bit, it's huge.
Yeah.
And this is
One thing I
basically picking up from Jason Goes to Hell, where he's dragged into the ground.
so ish I feel like there's people who will claim that it's not attached and people who claim that it is. I
I mean,
honestly, I am not so huge on the because Friday the 13th is nothing but a continuity error, like every film. So I view this as a fun film. I just do wish we would have got a far more brutal Jason.
right. Well, but when he comes alive at the end of the movie, when he pulls Freddy out of the dream and Freddy kind of loses most of his control over Jason, he comes to life and really wrecks him. And that's part of why it makes me feel like I can stomach him being a little slower and like full on just Frankenstein, no brain.
He's still just too. I don't
Robotic,
know.
slow
Yeah,
robotic. He
yeah.
is.
Now,
But
like I
like I said,
said,
I love this movie so much I can justify it.
oh, I do too. I want to stress that point to anybody who's watching. I love this movie. I wouldn't
1420.
trade it. I'm so happy it happened. I do, however, wish that we would have gotten Kane Hodder on set because Kane Hodder is notorious for telling directors Jason doesn't do that. No walk up. If they said walk slow, he'd be like, Jason doesn't do that.
Right.
Like, which this could have used.
You know what's interesting is like when it comes to female dialogue, like obviously everybody's listened to females talk, but when it comes to just females talking to females, like I don't dialogue sometimes is hit and miss with me because like you never really know like how do ladies talk by themselves, but you know how like the generic dudes in these movies would talk. I feel like this movie does a decent job at the dialogue. Like it's not
It
great
does better
dialogue,
than
but it's
anything Rob Zombie wrote. Dude,
right. But it's not
like,
like not caring. It's self-indulgent. Like it's not bad. Not that these
yeah.
characters are great, but it's not bad.
They're your average 26-year-old high school students.
Yep. God, that chain is so late '90s, early 2000s.
With the over jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Side
Dude,
note,
I'm so
question. Dude behind him, that dude who just took a drink out of the flask, wearing a
yep.
grandpa jacket. Why is it the new style for people to wear what our grandparents wore? I'm so
You mean like
nervous.
the 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 short pants that are super tight and I don't know, man. I
And
don't
like
know.
high top socks with like slip on sandals and like the bright colored polos like they're going golfing and I'm just ugh.
I don't know,
Then
man.
again
I'm
I'm the
so
guy
old.
who still wears baggy jeans, so
Yeah, I'm pretty boring. Like I'm basic. I am the basic boring dude. I don't even really have a style, so I can't comment on anybody's style because I have no style. I was wearing baggy stuff 5 years after it wasn't cool anymore. Like because I just had all hand me downs, like from my brother. Like
I'm still
my
doing
brother's
it.
10 years older than I am, so.
I have a pair of loose jeans that are my yard work jeans. They're like
Okay.
actual loose fit. Like the legs are way bigger than they should be. They're not Jinko jeans by any means, but
Oh my God, this guy is dying trying to create conversation. Feng shui. I love the flow of your place. Like this is her parents' house, dude. She cares not what you think of her parents' house. She didn't decorate it.
side
Okay,
note.
I understand. Like, it's
If,
just like
if
Lori in the
you
original Halloween, and then the remake or whatever, where the friend is always trying to get her friend laid. But this guy, like, out of all the guys on God's green earth, you want to hook her up with dude that his best line is feng shui? Come on.
okay,
Anyway, sorry.
if you are this is coming from somebody who has always been nervous to make the first move in a relationship. If your idea of, oh, she's timid from the conversation you just had because she thought you were stupid, and your next move is to put your arm around her, don't. Just don't. First
Right.
off,
Well, there.
consider. Second off, really? Are you that smooth? No,
Right.
you're not.
Dude, like confidence is huge. Like being able to, approach a lady and just talk to her, that's huge. And like to take that leap is huge. But I mean that now, I mean, there's a fine line of being confident and approaching a lady and being a d-bag. So I mean that guy was on the verge of being creepy. You
No,
have to care,
I
but then
would
you have to not
qualify him
care.
as creepy. That's just it, though. Like, I was, throughout high school, aside from my first girlfriend, I was way too, like, I I saw the harassment girls dealt with, so I was just like, I'm gonna leave them alone. Like, I'm not trying to mess up their day. This is uh, everybody around them is being a dick, and I don't want to be one of those. Like, so I was like, I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna go over. We can hang out, be friends, whatever. But I'm not gonna. Nope, nope.
I grew up in a small town where there was nothing to do but drink and do stupid stuff. And yeah, I mean, in our high school, the 3 out of 5 women were sexually assaulted by the time they were 18. So yeah, growing up, I knew a lot of ladies, and there was a lot of that stuff going around to the point where basically I just sat back and was like, look, I'm here to have a good time and hang out. Yeah, if you want to like whatever you want to do, it's on you. But for me, I'm just here to have a good time. So, because yeah, like you, I'm just not gonna. I'm just a yeah. You make the first move, and I'm just chilling. It,
Yeah,
yeah.
I took. So I think the furthest I made it once was instead of like actually making a move, I was like, I told the person that I liked them. I was like, I'm just gonna leave that in your court, and I like walked away. Like I'm like 14 or 15 or some shit, and it wasn't a smooth move at all, and it didn't work. But it was true. I liked the person. I was like, you do with that information what you will. I'm just gonna be honest about it, and
Hey,
that's
that's
it.
a
I'm
good
not
step.
no advancements, no nothing.
Here's a good kill where a lot of people love it. Now, in the theater, when I first watched this, I was into it. I'm like, that is gnarly. He's still got the beer. But I gotta be honest, I was not a big fan of the bed fold up. I like it now, but when I saw it in theaters, I wasn't a big fan. I thought it was a little too silly.
It is a little too silly because honestly, why? Who was sitting there one day and was like, you know what, this movie's lacking? Being stabbed with a machete multiple times, and then we're gonna fold you in half like a sandwich.
Right. Well, here's something that's weird. Like, where did Jason go? Like, there's everybody in this house, and he just disappears. Now,
So
was
this was
Jason?
more old school Jason, like to kill one person and then peace out for a minute.
Well, I didn't know if this was also Freddy having a little bit more control and telling Jason to go, and then Jason gets into a little bit more of a bloodlust kind of a thing.
See,
I
here's
didn't
the
know.
reason I don't fully jump in, prescribe to that theory that you have there, is I feel like if they would have actually shown that just a little bit more, it would fit. It would totally fit. But they don't. They just like he's like, I let Jason loose and Jason went too crazy. Well, yeah, because he's just going through and killing people like he normally does. I
Right.
don't know. It would fit, but since it was never brought up, I have a hard time like excusing it because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, but this movie does deal with the, trauma of Jason. It also has to do with manipulation from his mother, trauma just from childhood. So, I mean, it's not too far removed to kind of just go through the layers and kind of dig deep to find reasons that justifies why he does things why he does. It's the same reason why they do that in, court cases and things like that. Well, he did blah 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 because blah blah blah. Like, I mean, and it's fun. It adds to the movie. It's kind of fun to say, to have these little theories to make it better. I mean, I don't know. That's why I have theories on H2 2009 because it's so bad. I've got to find some reason to justify it.
You know what my favorite theory that you proved yourself wrong after a revisit was?
What's that?
Do you remember the theory?
It's a throwaway line. It's so lame. Are you talking about it picks up from one? Yeah, it's so lame. It's literally a sentence in the movie. If you delete that, it works so much better.
But it works.
I know. I know.
We had so many arguments about that too.
I know.
Well,
I completely forgot about it. I should have known too because H2O is, one of the first introductions to Halloween for me. I don't know why I forgot about that, but because it's a throwaway line. It's literally a throwaway line to attach to the second movie, but the movie would have been a lot better had they just picked up from the first movie.
I still say they should have used the re-haired H6 mask through the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they should have. Dude, this CGI holds up though, man. Like I'm watching this on Blu-ray, it looks good. The way those heads tilt. I have not seen this girl in anything else. Nothing against her at all, but I just haven't.
I haven't either.
This is the same girl from the beginning of the movie. They do a good job transitioning into the dreams, but keeping it into a normal reality. A lot like the first, second, and somewhat of the third movie. I like that a lot.
Yeah. That doesn't look as good these days as it used to. The eyes.
It didn't look bad. Like I said, I'm watching it on Blu-ray. It doesn't really look that bad.
The lighting that they use makes it really feel like a dream, like it's fake, but real.
That bluish, yeah.
Like actually last night, I'll share, I don't care. I was having a dream about a Chucky doll. I'm way too into horror. And the whole time I knew it was a dream, but it was still no less like you had moments that you're like, what the? So if you get Chucky dreams, man, you wake up and you're like, I want to watch Chucky.
I've had nightmares with like Michael Myers and Jason, but I've never had any of Chucky.
When I was a little kid, Chucky was the one who scared me the most. So I think there's something there that, like, you still have that little kid somewhere in you. And last night, my brain was just like, you remember what terrified you when you were like 4? Yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, Child's Play 2 was my first slasher. I think. It was either Scream or Child's Play 2. I have to look at that.
Halloween. Okay, so real quick. The dad is terrible here, but also, as someone who had a dad in the house, I can tell you, I would not have talked to my dad like that with fear of getting my arse handed right back to me for the way he does that.
My dad was pretty hardcore, but like never physically did anything, but very, very by the numbers, suck it up, this is how life is. But I think in this instance, when you're like literally, like he just said, my best friend was just killed, I think you get a lot of leeway. Even from any dad, I think you get a lot of leeway.
I mean,
And he could be
Still,
that could have been in the dream too, because he's in the dream right now. So that could have been in a dream. Whoa! I just yanked the.
hi, John. Random goat.
Dude, I love this part right here with the shadow effect. God dang, that's cool. I'm all right. I'm alive.
I'm all right. Like, no, dude, you're not all right.
I love the claw in this one too. It's a bit bigger,
I feel like in this
a little
one,
bit
the
more
claw is
hookier.
so prominent. It's kind of what inspired Jackie's this, which I
Yeah.
have to say, once whatever happens and they do reboot that again or whatever, I think they need to keep that noise. That's
Yeah,
good.
I agree. Dude, the dad's head bouncing off though is kind of stupid.
Kind of stupid, but also kind of good.
Like, yeah,
Too much blood.
Weston Hills going back to the. This
Going
dude
old
steals
school.
the show. I don't
Okay,
remember
this
his
actor
name.
here. What is his name?
I can't remember for the life of me, but he steals the show. The guy who puts his butt on the window.
He's in. Um, he's in a trilogy called Rampage. Um, that is really, really, really good, and I still need to buy the first movie. But actually, Dollar Tree for the win last year. They had the first one, and I missed it. Guy walking out with it as I was walking in.
Mm.
I really like him. I can never think of his name.
I love the dude, like the shots to put him to sleep or whatever. I love how he puts it down there on the table and he puts his hand on it like he's swearing on a Bible. I don't know, and this part's awesome. How many times do I have to tell you I'm not a checkers guy. I'm an Uno guy.
I'm an Uno guy.
I'm an Uno guy. Uno's amazing, dude. We used to play like Ultra Killer Uno, so good.
I haven't played Uno since I was probably like 19 or 20.
Oh man. I had one buddy who his family religiously played Sorry, and then they would invite me over to dinner occasionally and we'd play, and then I had another buddy who their family religiously play Uno. So good. But then we
Dude,
played
for
poker a lot
me,
too.
growing up, we played a lot of Clue. Yeah.
Clue's
My
legit.
thing was Clue. We played Clue like no other.
Dude, we gotta watch that
That's a
movie
movie
someday.
we
That
should
movie's
cover.
hilariously underrated.
Such a great movie. Such a great movie.
Now, was his brother the guy who I can't remember his name, but he had his veins pulled out and whatnot, his tendons. He was walked off the roof. I think that's who they're saying is his brother. If I had to guess.
No, I think they're just saying his brother was singing by him. Because it looks more like he slit his wrist in the bathtub.
I don't remember him farting on the window. Like I don't know why. Like I should remember. I don't remember him farting on the window. That's hilarious.
That screech.
Yeah. We've all been dragged away from the bar like that before.
Not this guy. I have no desire to be that guy.
Yeah. I love their friendship, dude. Like, I don't know. The characters in this movie work for me. I don't know why.
I feel
But
like Friday the 13th involved characters, they're not bad. Like I mean, there's not many characters in the Friday the 13th franchise that you empathize with or find a connection that kind of works, but the ones in this one aren't that bad.
right. Well, you have a Nightmare on Elm Street characters, which are about here, And then you have Friday the 13th characters about here. This movie does a really good job of getting them right about here, where you kill them, it doesn't matter. You're along for the ride. It does a good job for what it is.
Yeah.
They do a really good job, like with the older gal that played Pamela and the transition into Freddy and that little glimpse, and then this dude. They did a really good job morphing him into
Yeah,
Freddy.
they do.
A lot of people like a lot of the reviews I've watched on this or whatever, or people that talk about this movie won't shut up about how gorgeous this gal is. I never got that. I don't understand. I'm not trying to be weird here. I think she's just a normal gal. I don't know. A lot of people draw focus or like talk crap about like her looks or something like that. I don't understand it.
I don't know. I'm so far removed from that topic. I think if you bring the acting chops and you bring to the story what you should, I really don't care what you look like. I
I would love
really
to.
don't.
I would love to put a movie together and make you do that part of it. Like if we had to make a raunchy horror movie with that kind of stuff, like nudity and all that stuff, I'd put you in charge of that. I would love to watch you struggle and be so uncomfortable.
You would be really disappointed.
I would get the final say so. I'd be like, Caleb, no, she's 38 years old. She cannot be 17 and topless. No, I don't care how nice she is.
First off, their biggest mistake is casting 30-year-olds as 17-year-olds, which is a huge horror movie issue. Like I don't understand it. Like were
I
there
think it's one of
not
those things
any
where
child actors?
there's something with it when it comes to like nudity and like certain scenes like this, like I think if it would like depending on the person that you are, like a lot of these people that did Friday the 13th, they were porn directors, some of them, so they just didn't care to get younger actresses. I mean, one of the
Well,
gals
also,
was 16 and she had a sex scene in what was that, part 2 or something like that, right? So
but
it's one of
that's
those
the other
things where I
thing.
think that the more if you're more awkward to that situation, you're wanting an older actress just so that way it's more removed from the innocence in your mind. I think that might play a factor. I have no idea. I'm just talking.
Personally, I think that the and this argument doesn't get a lot of room in horror, but I think we're past needing a sex scene or multiple sex scenes or nudity in like every third shot of a horror movie. I don't think it's necessary anymore. It's really
Right.
not. And that's part of why I like some of the weird movies that I like because they skip over that.
Right.
It's not a main part of the story. Like talking about Friday the 13th, that's one of the main sells to like teenage boys is the nudity.
Right. This is so weird. This random dude that's obviously doesn't go to school there in a jean jacket, which jean jackets were not cool in 2003. It's like he just came
They
straight off
were
the
if you were a
farm.
metalhead kid.
They were not cool.
You were in a small town.
Dude,
Get
I
out
was
of
in a
here.
small. I'm in a small town, mid Kansas. Like I'm telling you, like cowboy wannabe dudes everywhere, and nobody wore a jean jacket.
I'm telling you, dudes who were into super metal wore jean jackets.
Well, they didn't wear like denim. They wore black or faded black. They didn't wear
Not
denim
always.
jean jackets.
No. I've seen lots of dudes wear like a flannel, the jean jacket, and just like blue jeans while
That
blasting
makes me
like
think.
Slayer or Black Sabbath over their headphones.
That makes me think of Breakfast Club.
Makes me think of a Rob Zombie movie.
Oh God. Hey, we're not talking about Rob Zombie in this movie. Rob Zombie has no need to be in this conversation. I love the
So the
red in
monster
her
is
hair.
going to
It
be
is
remade.
so cool. Do what?
So the Munsters is going to be remade by Rob Zombie.
God. I will not go see that in theaters. I refuse.
I
I'm
will.
sorry. I'm done with Rob Zombie. I'll watch it on HBO Max or whatever it comes out on, but I'm sorry. No, no more from Rob Zombie. I'm done.
I'm stoked to see it. Also, those were not in the school nurse's office, by the way.
Right. But it's a good transition into Dream, right? It's talking about her
I just noticed
her
that sign. Did
psychosis
you
or
see
whatever.
that?
Her
The
huh?
sign that said, sorry, the nurse can't help you.
Oh, I missed that. But yeah, see a lot of subtleties. And he's still not powerful enough to make it happen in the real world. I'm still holding true to firm that nobody wore jean jackets in 2003.
I can tell you they did it at Shawnee Mission West.
Well, everybody wore everything in Shawnee Mission West. That's different. It's Shawnee Mission West. Give me a break. Like everything goes there. Like after this generation, it was like wear pajamas to school. We don't care. By the way, I'm just gonna say that that guy's name, who I cannot remember for the life of me, the best friend, blonde, he's the best actor in this entire movie. I'm no disrespect to anybody else, but he kills this role.
Yep.
See, I think
He
his
has
brother is
emotion in his character. Like,
yeah.
no matter who he plays and everything I see him in, he brings that to the table. He
Well,
has a good range.
right, like right now he's talking like the desperation and the like the sadness about his brother. I'm telling you, I think his brother was the one with the tendons in Dream Warriors. See, I just love how much it this feels like it picks up from part three, just with the with the asylum or whatever, with the oh what are the pills Hypnosil picks up from
Fitness.
three. Like it's so good. This movie like hits so many right beats.
Yeah. Sorry.
Is your camera okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Just got a text.
Dude,
Just
that
making
van
sure.
is so awesome. What is it
That
with Ronnie? You
van
an
and
awesome
that
van.
jean jacket belong together. Shut your face.
That dude is like country jean jacket. He's not rocking out to Rob Zombie in that jean jacket, and those pants, and that shirt. That dude is
That
listening to
van
Garth
is a
Brooks.
Rob Zombie van. Like, it's just true.
It's a Ronnie U van because he uses basically the same van in Bride of Chucky.
When he's blasting Rob Zombie.
In Bride of Chucky, I'm not talking about Rob Zombie anymore. You leave that at the door. No Rob Zombie in this one. We made it all through Candyman without Rob Zombie.
You know, we can keep going on Rob Zombie. I really want to watch 31.
I've never
Really
seen it. I
good.
saw the opening and stopped. It's weird. They just put a lot of like emphasis on his brother and being a big part of this movie, and I don't even know who his brother is. I wish they would have given a little bit more depth to he was the death of Freddy. So that's why, in my mind, I'm going to say he was the tendons dude from the third one.
Well, no, he's the kid in the bathtub.
In part three?
No, in this.
The brother?
Yeah. He
Yeah,
shows
but
up
when
in
he
the
opens
bathtub.
right when he opens his arms, though, it looks like his wrists and stuff are slit. That's why I think it's his brother
I think
in the
it's
third
honestly
one.
just a random victim that they used to connect it because they didn't pay that much attention to the previous entries.
Yeah. Dude, how gnarly is it of Jason to just grab a pipe and just break it off? He's just like, this looks like it's going to break right here.
And see, that's the thing. I feel like the power that this Jason has mixed with the pure anger and rage of Kane Hodder's Jasons would have made the most amazing Jason as one. Just
Right.
would have.
I think had you put Kane Hodder in here, I'm thinking you're seeing more like 160, 180 million because he would have got more repeat views. You would have got more fans going back to it. I understand wanting a bigger Jason because you wanted him to tower over Freddy, just because that's a part of Jason's MO is being big, and Freddy's not really that big. But at the end of the day, it's
Ken
amazing.
is only an inch taller than Kane.
Well, Ken Kersinger, I don't think he's. I think he's a bit taller than Kane. More, I think he's more like 3 inches taller. I think Kane's height is overplayed. I mean, being with him in person, he's not that tall of a human being. I think Kersinger's a bit taller than he is. But
I've seen both in person. There's not that much of a size difference. And honestly, the way it's been explained from all the research I've done is Ronnie Yu thought that he was the Jason from Part 8. He didn't know.
yeah,
And he
part
was the stunt double on Part 8.
right. Well, part of me
So
wonders
I
also if he was just
honestly
cheaper.
think it was just a huge miscommunication. New Line had already given Kane Hodder a pre-script and said, "You've got the role." He got it. He was getting prepped. He was ready. And then he called his agent and called his agent and called his agent. And all of a sudden they called back and said, well, they cast somebody else. And he's like, who? Like, well, he played Jason. And he thought that it was going to be
C.J. Graham.
Part 6. Yeah, C.J. Graham. And he was like, no, I don't think he's doing it. And then they were like, well, no, he was Jason in Part 8. And he's like, Part 8? I was Jason in Part 8. And that's when he found out it was Ken. And the way that it's been told is it's one of those nobody's fault things where, like, the director didn't know, the casting person didn't know, but New Line had already offered it. But nobody at New Line was in connection with Ronnie and then the casting person.
Well, and from what I understand too, Ronnie Yu didn't really know a whole lot about both franchises, so
He liked Freddy. He did not like Friday the 13th.
right. So it's one of those things where this is why probably this movie, in my mind, is more of a is more of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie than it is Friday the 13th. It's Jason in a Nightmare on Elm Street vehicle.
No. Still, though, I love the Jason costume design.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so back, and sorry, I don't mean to go back to Rob Zombie, but the Halloween 2, the like, I'm cold, I'm going to grab a jacket, I'm living out, I'm not, it makes sense. It fits the character. If you're living outdoors for forever, you're going to want a coat.
It doesn't make sense because he's a freaking zombie. He doesn't need to be warm.
My point is it fits.
No, it doesn't. Your point's null and void. It's like never hike in the snow. I understand that you as an actor need to stay warm, but Jason does not need gloves. Like, he's a zombie. He doesn't need to stay warm. The only reason I give Part 6 a pass for gloves is because it's like if you're a zombie and you have slimy hands, it makes sense to have craftsman's gloves to have grip.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They gave him duck gloves and a Mario belt as a comedic relief.
He took it from
meant to be taken seriously.
He took it from the paintballers. Look at that. I love that shot right there. It's a callback to the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Looks so much better than the 2010 remake where it's CGI.
I was just about to say, and it somehow looks better than the remake, which came out later.
Yeah, but like, I understand being cheap, but how does it make sense to be cheap when you have to go to CGI to do it? Like, CGI cannot be that easy. When in the original movie, what did they used a sheet, or what did they use?
A sheet of spandex.
Spandex, right?
And they put Robert up on a platform over the bed, and he just slowly did like this.
Right. How is CGI cheaper than just doing it that way? I don't understand. Are you that lazy to where you're like, well, I'll send it over to CGI?
And
Good
then they erase
throwbacks
your
to the
mustache
boiler
and make you
room.
look like Bizarro. Oh wait, wrong movie.
Oh, those fingers on the pipe right there, or the handle or whatever.
I always liked that scene. Just
Hmm. And then that right there. God, this is probably my favorite Freddy.
you know what's funny? A lot of the Super Nightmare fans argue that this is Freddy's worst makeup, and I would disagree. I do think
Oh,
you can see a little bit of the like it being more of a prosthetic than in some of the early films, but that's because of the the shadow, the dark, the but I mean Nightmare 5 it's and Freddy's dead. His prosthetics aren't the best. I would say this entry his prosthetics look better.
well, I think in this movie this is more of a mask because I know at the end of
Yeah,
this
it's a
where he
silicone like pull because yeah, he was talking about discomfort with it and he didn't want to go through all the same process like that again. Which
right.
is fair. The dude would be in the seat for like 7, 8 hours. I wouldn't want that either.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. That's a long time to sit there. But I mean, he was saying that I think when the flames at the end of the movie, he couldn't even feel the heat because the mask was so thick. But the mask would actually like melt onto his face, and that became its own problem.
No.
I love it. Boom. Gotcha.
And somehow Freddy's narration works. It's cheesy throughout the movie, but it works.
Right. I like how he thought about it for a second. He realized, well, he's almost like crazy. Like he's in his own head talking to himself, basically. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's like, why do I have to deal with this Jason guy now? Like he was just here to kill a couple people and go away. Hold on, I freaking
Me,
hate this
me and my
shot.
cousin, I love it too. Me and my cousin, when dudes like Everclear's kicking my ass, we were always like, "Yep, sure is the Everclear you pass the joint."
Right.
Hey, Jethro.
I love this. This dude is clearly trying to be Billy Bob from Varsity Blues. I love it so much.
Dude, I want a better hood from my Freddy versus Jason that shows that like lump on the side. I gotta I
See, I
want
don't.
to keep doing the Freddy versus Jason cosplay because honestly, I mean eight's probably my favorite, like I've said, but this is so iconic.
See, I don't like the thin neck on Jason. It bothers me galore when they highlight it. I don't like the thin neck, and I don't like the hair. But other than that, I really do like the rest of it. And oh, I hate the boots. Obviously, I hate the boots. Like, come on, guys. Like, what the hell
No,
is Jason
I mean
doing
yeah,
with
and
3 inch
honestly,
boots?
I didn't really notice the boots until I started costume building myself. And then I started looking at the costume design photos and stuff, and I'm like, awesome.
This dude is terrible about keeping that blood capsule in his mouth, though, because you could tell the whole way he was trying to hold it in and be able to bite down and spit it out. So I
Real
probably
quick,
would have reshot that, but I like it.
Jason's about to take a swing, miss a dude, and he's still gonna squirt blood. This is my favorite. It's right
Which one?
this guy. He didn't hit him.
Yeah, it's way off. I love this rampage scene though. Like there is no way that anybody would still be hanging around. They would be gone. What's the guy that plays so it's Jay and Silent Bob? Who plays Jay?
Jason
Muse?
Mewes.
Muse, Jason
Jason
Muse.
Mewes.
This dude is such a rip
Total
off of
rip
that
off of
character.
Jay. Yeah.
Total. That's a good song. F the Police,
I'm a fan. But yeah,
NWA.
I feel like the blatant ripoff was a little bit too much. Even when I first saw it, like, I mean, I like the character and all, but at the same time, I was just like, you went, like, that is copy and paste. You even gave the dude the stocking cap, the
Right.
jacket, the hoodie, the.
The same
Man,
tone. Yeah, I feel like they owe him rights. Like,
that. I wonder if Kevin Smith got royalties because of that.
probably not. There's probably enough legal loophole that. Yeah.
If I ever go to a con and meet Kevin Smith, I'm going to ask. I'm going to be like, so Freddy versus Jason, right?
It's funny because I'm of the opinion that Kevin Smith is the most overrated and underrated director writer of all time. Like in certain groups, they just like blow him out of proportion, and then other people never give him the time of day. Like they're like, oh, I like Clerks, but then that's where they stop at it. Mallrats, Chasing Amy, all of it's gold.
Dude,
But at
honestly,
this,
as I've aged, I've come to appreciate his sequels and stuff a lot more. Like Clerks 2, like as I've gone out and watched that now, like because of where I'm at in my life, like he does a really good job of instilling that like long-term humor, but also like life-changing events. And then seeing the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, like becoming a parent, that's a thing that he connects into that, and it was just like perfect timing. I don't know. I love Kevin Smith's movies. Some are better than others, but that's just how it
right.
is.
Yeah, I
Red
think
State. Ooh.
I I think to go into like larger worlds, bigger scope things, I think he would have needed a little bit more assistance, a little bit more guidance, a little bit more like give and take. But when he sticks to, yeah, a little bit more money, but when he sticks to his own dialogue, when he sticks to his own characters, he does a phenomenal job. I would have loved to have seen a mixture of the money and a scale a little bit more with him. I know a lot of people
And
aren't liking the new Masters of the Universe, unfortunately.
the most that really got was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That movie was like his like he had already done his early films, and Dogma made a lot of money for a Kevin Smith film. And then everybody wanted more Jay and Silent Bob, so his natural step was that. And after that, for a while, it just kind of got quiet for Kevin Smith fans. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This subplot right here with the dad and the like did her mom die in a car accident? Did she die from Freddy? Like the dad sells it and so does she. Why don't
The
I give you
dad
some
does a very
pills?
good job of doing the traditional Nightmare on Elm Street parent thing. And I do feel like people don't give that credit in this film. Like,
Well,
he
this movie too
reminds
is
me
like
of what's her face from Nightmare 1, the mom.
yeah, oh. Yeah, it's not gonna be there. But yeah, I know who you're talking about, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, he reminds me of her, which is a good thing. Like, you're tying me back to that first movie.
Well,
I
and
agree
I
with
love
John, though. This really is a nightmare film that puts Jason in a seat.
right, it is a Nightmare on Elm Street vehicle the whole way. But yeah, I mean, and I like the rain and the lightning and everything. It's really playing on the nostalgic '80s vibe, which is what we wanted. If you see Freddy vs. Jason, you want as much '80s vibes without being retro as you can be.
And I have to say, um, I'm a huge like there's a certain thing about like a summer movie or a fall movie or something like that. Honestly, when it rains, Freddy versus Jason pops in my head. Like I think about the movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because the rain is done so well. And it's not a huge part of the movie. It's really not. But it's just done so well that it like clicks.
Right.
Typo negative here. Probably one of my favorite typo negative songs. Also, somebody who drives a van like that and wears a jean jacket would listen to typo negative.
Yeah. It was his brother's van. I love how he does that, dude. Like that scene where he does this. That stiff, like, I don't know if I'm gonna run out the door or believe this. I love that
And
look.
this house is like all of those, 70s and 80s like suburban homes. I think they did a really
Ah,
good job.
dude, that bathroom's massive. That bathroom is
No, it is.
huge.
But I don't think that's actually a bathroom. I think they remodeled a bedroom to get a bigger shot.
It
But
could
like
be,
the
but
design, the set design, the colors, the tile, the wood stuff on the walls, like it's reminiscent of those.
see, I like the this movie doesn't try to be too creative with like what you expect and then shifting your expectations. It's like, oh yeah, the mirror trope. Yeah, you're gonna see Freddy in the mirror because it's all a love note to the '80s slashers that they created the horror. I freaking love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, CGI was boys bad right there.
Yeah, it was.
I like that cross right there hanging out. That was definitely something that I would do is have a cross underneath my button up back in this time. And if anything like this was happening, you bet it'd be outside my shirt. It's kind of strange how brave he is right here.
It is.
I love the darker red, and I like how the green is basically black. I don't know why. I think it goes with this movie's like it's very bland. There's not a whole lot of colors in this movie. I
Yeah.
don't know. I always love this. But my favorite look of Freddy, that's awesome. That's a throwback to the first movie with like Tina or whatever her name is being dragged up on the wall and then the slash is happening. Uh, but no, I my favorite version of Freddy is Demon Freddy in the Dream with Jason. When he comes out of the lake when it's all red and he's like demon, oh my god, that look is awesome.
I love that Demon Freddy look, and also real quick, we got the Jason Freddy versus Jason figure. I think, and because back in the day when NECA did the original figures, there was a Demon Freddy. They need an Ultimate Freddy, and it needs to have a Demon Freddy head. Like I'm
It
waiting
has
because
to.
I will buy it, like hands down. Honestly, for the design of Freddy, I kind of wish one of these movies would go back to the original without the stripes on the sleeves. I really like that look.
Yeah, I like the stripes on the sleeves.
I love how George Bush is behind him. I just noticed that. There's a photo of George Bush.
Yep.
I never noticed that before.
Yep. I love that. You know how long it would take to smoke a cigar that size? Holy God. Like 4 hours later. In the Bahamas, I had a cigar that size. Let me tell you how long that thing took.
So, as an
Forever.
ex-cigarette smoker, I can tell you I've only smoked maybe 2 cigars in my life, and I did not enjoy it near as much because I was a cigarette smoker.
Well, it's probably because you were inhaling. You weren't
No, I knew not to
keeping it in your
inhale.
mouth. Really?
John?
Now, here's a scene coming up where she says, "Now Jason died by water and Freddy by fire. How can we use that?" I know a lot of people give crap to that, but she's in a dream, and yeah, it's a good little to the audience, like, look, this is really interesting, like a creature of the lake, and then you have a guy born from fire. Like, it, I think it plays. I know a lot of people give it crap, but I think it plays.
I mean, I think it's both funny, but it also works because it is like if you're just stuck in this and you've learned, hey, one dude's out here and he's killing people and he drowned, the other one's out here killing people and he burned. Is there anything there? Like,
Right,
it's just
right.
two puzzle pieces, whether they connect or not. You're just trying to ask.
Right. And then this scene right here where they're around a circle table, it almost feels like that 70s show, but it also feels like Friday the 13th Part 2, where they're around the campfire and he's like, let me give it to you straight about Jason. I, I really like this stretch of the movie.
Yeah. Honestly, this like the tools behind what's his name, Spencer. Um, yeah, all those tools back there and all that is making me think of the reboot. It's like it completes your outfit.
Right.
Man, that screwdriver scene in the reboot.
God, every scene, the fire poker, the axe,
That
all that stuff is gold. But yeah, even in this next scene we're about to get into, where they go after the hypnosil, even though it's a bit of a filler, it plays so well because it's so deep into the lore of Nightmare on Elm Street that even though it doesn't really work out and it doesn't become anything really, I freaking love it, and it adds to the runtime of this movie more than a lot of filler that could have been in that spot.
yeah.
I love the red in her hair. Freaking love it. It's so fun.
This is also back when we thought that putting mainstream musicians in horror films was a good idea.
Hey, she does a good job. Destiny's Child, LL Cool J, Brandy,
Honestly,
and I know what you did. Or I still know what you did last summer.
my favorite is probably LL Cool J and H2O of
Dude, so
all of
good.
them.
LL Cool J is forever underrated.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday, pretty much anything he's in, he's good.
I mean, you don't get to make a song that's talking about Mama Said Knock You Out and then not become one of the best.
That's awesome. Dude, he's even awesome in SWAT. That's actually probably my favorite movie with him in it.
Man, I haven't seen that in forever.
So good. See, it's really quick. I would have slowed that down a little bit. They got to that really quick. Were you on any drugs?
Yeah.
Something called Hypnosil. I would have slowed that
Are
out a
you on
little
any
bit.
drugs? The way he said that, I don't like. Is are you on any? Were you on any drugs? Yeah, but we were on this drug that nobody told us what it did. It was called Hypnosil, and you're like, what other
Right.
drugs were you on? Like,
Right.
can you like? Well, we took Benadryl for our allergies. We like the multi. Like, let's.
Well, I also don't really care for the fact that Jason just like they show up at this facility and then Jason just like there. Like that could have been
Although,
explained a little bit better.
um, this scene coming up, when Jason faces him and cuts him in half is my favorite hockey mask in this movie. It's after it's been burned and it's got the grays and the like browns popping. I don't know why, but it's next to the clawed version. Those are my two favorite. Like it pops.
Okay, even if you had a gun, would you be approaching the door?
No.
Like,
Also, speaking of that CG blood they're about to show looks real bad.
dude, that CG slug they're about to show looks really bad.
This blood looks worse.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like all they had to do was show the guy's like head sticking out, maybe, or the arm sticking out. They didn't have to show the blood.
Or
That's
just
why
pour some fake blood down.
I think actually the future of movies might actually like be better without big box office dollars. You might actually have to, find some unique ways to do things and a little bit more tell, don't show. We'll see.
Yeah.
I see. I kind of like the idea that they're willing to go this far to where they literally put people in comas because they've been testing them with this hypnosil thing. I think that's a really cool little add-on to this.
Yeah.
Now, I've only been to Colorado once and partaken in a nice little piece of chocolate. I still can't imagine seeing a little slug and just going with it.
No. You would not see a little slug walking in the room unless your
No.
stuff was laced with a lot of other stuff. No.
Right,
That is not one of the things. But also dream.
right. There had to be a better way of doing this than a weird, ugly CGI slug, but it it's whatever. It doesn't take away from it. And if we get a NECA, we're gonna get that slug. You know that, right? It's gonna be a little add-on.
Kind of like the Nightmare 2, you get the weird face dog things. And
Yeah, the
I want
demon
the
dog
Nightmare
things.
2 figure because I like his head sculpt the most. But I don't want those weird dog things. I really don't.
Right. That's why I went with Dream Warriors, is because I wanted that little stick figure Elm Street house.
Wow. I'm happy with my original. I love that one.
Now, see, I really like this part right here because when the slug goes into this guy, right? I like the idea of Freddy using his body as a callback to Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of Freddy being able to physically.
But that looks terrible.
It does look terrible, but I like the idea of Freddy being able to use your body.
There's like that, and then one step above is Bindi, Neo, and Agent in the second Matrix,
Yeah.
where Neo looks like he's made of rubber in the main fight scene.
Oh yeah. But at the time when it first came out, it didn't look bad, and you can kind of
Well,
forgive it because.
I thought it looked bad at the time. Everybody was like praising it. I'm like, he looks like he's made of spaghetti.
Right, but at the same time, you got to remember that this is also in a computer, and it's computer graphics at that time and everything else. It plays with the fact that it's in a computer-generated world.
See that mask? The way that the grays are utilized to show that it's lightly charred. Like, I don't know who painted the original masks and costumes for these, but they did a really good job to progress Jason's damage.
Yeah. And I like the idea of tranking Jason to get him into the dream state. Really, I mean, this is Freddy versus Jason. Really, it takes a long time to get to that fight scene, but the movie does a really good job of building both characters, especially Freddy,
Yeah,
to
I don't
this
have
scene
a
right
pacing
here.
problem. Like, I feel like Alien versus Predator, I have a pacing problem. I don't have a pacing problem with Freddy versus Jason.
Well, I'm trying to see how far we're in right now. Unfortunately, I tried to see, I can't see, but it took us 45 minutes to get to Candyman. I feel like this is not as long of a time to get to this fight scene. And I love how
Yeah.
he just cuts dude in half.
That machete. I
Dude,
need
your
to do a build
cosplay,
for that machete.
your
What?
cosplay with your cosplay with the holes in the undershirt looks so good when you take time to look at the movie. They did a really good job of those holes in the center shirt.
So that was me.
Oh, was it really?
I
Good
did the
job, man.
shirt, I did the pants. The coat is what I paid for because I couldn't figure out how to do
Oh,
the burlap.
okay.
So
Well,
yeah,
yeah, no, yeah.
like, I took stills from the movie and I was like, oh my god. My only thing was I did a less charred version, but that mask, look at that hockey mask.
Yeah.
I
Like
love
I said,
it.
the only problem I have with it, I just don't like the hair and I don't like the thin neck. And then here comes
I don't
Pamela
like
again.
either one of those.
And her intensity, even though she's Freddy and she's pissed off, so good right here. That voice sounds really good. See right there, like his mom was yelling at him, he kind of felt some, sadness.
Yeah. Shame.
I love how Freddy's hand is in his pocket, like he's not even worried.
Not my arm. I just want to say, when you grow back arms, why does the shirt grow back?
Back to 100%. See, I like that Freddy's always had a hard time with people with strong wills, like, the determination of the character. And I like that's why he has a problem with Jason, because he knows, like, Jason in his mind knows he can't die by now. But he's also torn because of his mother and all that other stuff. I think this is done really well for what they had. Like,
That the wheel thing always
mhm.
bugged me because it looked like it was out of a cartoon.
Right, it looked like it was Play-Doh.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Jason's super strong-willed by now, so it does show that.
See, I also like some of the Freddy powers in this, but I also don't like how he uses almost like telekinesis. Like some of the creativity is kind of removed from this spot because it's just like him throwing him around like with telekinesis. I don't know. I think this could have been done a little bit better, but I do still really, really like it.
Yeah.
Tilt. And once again, this plays really well between the Freddy from part 3 to Freddy's Dead, like that in between where he's still having a lot of fun, but he's still maniacal, he's still scary. I think
Yeah.
this is a really good combination of Freddy. Freddy's playing some mind games here, trying to break down his confidence. Now he's pissed. Why won't you die? Jason ain't having it. Throws off that huge tank thing, like I know this is just a dream.
Dude, this is good. But just imagine that with the deteriorated Part 7 Jason just whooping the. Oh, God.
Right. Just ripping him
And
apart barehanded, limb from limb.
fans who have the money to make the movie, I'm just saying, do a fan version. Back the project.
Right.
This bugs me. It's still to this day. I understand the justification of, well, he's tapping into his brain, but the afraid of water thing is a problem for me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch.
Wow, the CG doesn't look good there either. Man, that breaks my heart. Side note, you're a teenager. You're being hunted down by two psychopathic killers. Would you put one of them in your van that looks
No.
undead?
No. I think somebody did a video on this, how long it would take to get from the Elm Street in Nightmare on Elm Street to Camp Crystal Lake, and I think it was something
And it's
like,
a couple days or something.
well, I think it was something like, yeah, something between like 13 hours and like 20 hours. It was a long drive. But they
I do like
continuously
the
trank
fan
him.
service of taking us from Elm Street to Crystal Lake, though. It's a fan service. Like, it's not logical, but it's fun.
Right. See, I think this part right here with the water would have played a lot better had Jason been getting his butt kicked and the water go off. Like he like dominates Freddy for 2 minutes and then Freddy takes over and then this kind of breaks into his psyche. It does kind of suck because Jason was having a kind of a comeback. Like he kicked him, he was kicking some butt for a second, and then this happens. It kind of comes
Yeah.
out of nowhere, but I do think it's all psychological. it doesn't fit. It's but it doesn't ruin the entire movie for me. But it is like this movie is full of like 10-second spots where I would just delete. Like when she gets hit, and like later on when the gal gets hit and goes flying up against the tree. If you delete little things in this movie, it does go up a lot. But at the end of the day, it's a zombie Jason fighting a dream demon. Like, come on, guys.
Dude, I remember when all the promo photos came out for this before the movie did. I was on AOL downloading them because that's who got them was AOL.
Yep.
And I think it was AOL or Yahoo. I think AOL. And the first one of Jason holding a teddy bear in that cabin, and I'm like, why is Jason holding a teddy bear? Can anybody tell me this? And then it never comes up in the movie.
I had totally forgot about that until you said that when I asked you about, excuse me, about this NECA figure. I was like, I don't understand why he has a teddy bear. Like, it's not in the movie, so why would you put it with the NECA? That's really weird. Yeah,
It's from the promo photos.
What the hell is that teddy bear? Yeah, it's right there.
Yep.
It's really weird.
The other hand that's like this is supposed to be able to hold it perfectly.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. I have 3 of these, by the way.
Why do you have 3?
I don't know. I got a loose one for. I know. I have a loose one that I got for like $10. I got that one that I got for like 18. Then I got this one for like 20 something. So I don't know. It's just good deals I couldn't pass up.
I do plan on opening mine because I'm officially never like the figures that I have. I don't think I'm getting rid of the ones I'm displaying. So I think I'm gonna finally start breaking into them once I get that shelf with the door.
Yep.
And display them in there.
That was a bad line. Robert Englund had to have a lot of fun with this movie.
I feel like he's had to have a lot of fun on all of them.
Right.
Can you imagine if they would have finalized the recast on Nightmare 2? Like, where would we be?
I think they would have. I think it would have died with Nightmare 2. Like, I don't. Either that or they would have gone back to Robert Englund in Nightmare 3. Because Nightmare 2, everybody hated it. It flopped for all intents and purposes. Like, see, I like this right here. The throwback to Jason as a kid being tormented by the other kids and drowning, reliving the drowning through Freddy. I just I hate the water thing too, but at the same time I freaking love some of that right there. That going back to the original with Pamela, with the drowning, also, with the kids.
Again on the van thing, that is a Misfits air freshener. Misfits fans wear jean jackets.
Okay, nobody cool wore jean jackets. Anyway. He has asthma.
Jimi Hendrix wore jean jackets.
I'm saying in 2003, nobody wore jean jackets.
I'm saying in 2003, lots of weirdos wore jean jackets. I didn't.
I mean, obviously people wore jean jackets because jean jackets still existed in our Earth, but like for the most part, it wasn't a trendy thing.
In our Earth, like it's a natural resource.
Well, I mean, jean jackets have been out since 1958. Like, look it up. That's real. That's a real date.
Would you mouth to mouth Jason?
No.
No.
I love how Jason flies out of here.
He's just
he flies out like a disc golf. Like
yeah. That looks so bad.
It does. I love it. Oh God, I love this. You. It's that same you as like part 3 with the snake slug. And this demon Freddy dude, so good. God, he's mean. God, that demon's scary. That should have been Freddy for the rest of the movie.
I'm not gonna lie, my favorite moment is when Freddy gets pulled out and he's like, oh,
Right.
has that moment of realization, like,
Right.
man, this dude is like 7 feet tall and 3 times my weight, and now I gotta fist fight him.
It reminds me of
I've
when
got to engage in fisticuffs. Like,
it reminds me when I slammed the door in my mother's face and she ripped it off the door hinges and like threw it off to the side, and I was in the corner as a little kid like, ah!
I was just kidding. I'm sorry.
Oh dude, she walked through my bedroom like Godzilla through a little town. I had a huge spaceship Lego. She dominated, kick punt that thing across the room. Oh, I was so scared of my mother. The last time I ever slammed the door in her face.
Oh yeah, I'll bet.
My mom is like 5'2", 100 pounds, but super strong and intense for her size.
This to the.
Yeah, the floorboards. That's cool. It reminds me of Tremors though, when they're like running down trying to get back into the grocery store.
But like, as somebody who's like pinched their skin a lot, like imagining that on the back of the heels, I'm just like, oh, that's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. Like,
See, here's a call. Here's a call back to the core of Freddy Krueger too, where he's a little bit rapey, but he doesn't go full on. This right here, the maniacal cutting of the flesh, and then you see it in reality. I the I don't know, the attention to detail to the characters in this movie, especially to Freddy, is really really good.
to Jason,
Well, Jason was such a joke. I mean, not that Freddy wasn't a joke too, but Jason was such a joke by, Freddy or Jason Goes to Hell. Like,
but that punch, was he Superman? What just happened?
well, he's 6 foot like 5, and she's like six, or she's 5'3".
Really? A flagpole?
America.
The power of our
I thought
democracy shall stop you.
I think that was a really weak death. That he just got stabbed by the side of a little desk arm support thing. I don't even know what that is, but I thought that was kind of a weak death. But yeah, this look right here, you're right.
This, oh my god.
And the music, that metal music kicking on.
And look, he's like, oh, oh, oh.
And Jason's all about the business. Like, he's like, oh yeah, it's on now. But he's just
I
like,
don't
well,
care about them. It's me and you.
yeah. Yeah, those were gone a long time ago.
Yep.
I love this. He sticks it through the window and just wrecks the entire side of the.
It also kind of looks goofy.
I love it. I freaking love it. Because it wasn't that thick. See, that's kind of stupid. How far he throws him is pretty stupid. But up until that point, it was great.
But with his death, I feel like they wanted to be like, he's the like one good guy in the group, like he's the one guy to root for. Because he was always like so nice to everybody and like was never like cruel or anything like that. And then they're like, we're gonna let him bleed out here.
See, I like the fact that he's kind of a tough guy here and he doesn't want to see him die, but like this kind of character, for me, like seeing a couple people pass from this earth, like I really don't think he would do that. I think he'd be begging to not be alone every last second of his life. Nothing against anybody how they check out, but I just didn't buy the fact that he's like, oh no, I'll be good, go ahead. No, that dude would be squealing for every last second of you know,
Yeah.
attachment, whatever. I like how tough she is in this one. This part right here.
Man, she talks a hard game right here, but then
Right.
every time.
She's really selling it.
She is.
I love it. Hmm.
And
It's like he hit her with a croquet mallet. Like she just flew 10 yards.
he was at half power there.
This is where Freddy activates his Goku like ninja power.
And she gets all like, it's the end of the movie. I have to act more serious.
Right. I love her arms right there. I would have reshot that scene.
And they're like, all right, we got take 497. We got to start this again.
Right.
I mean, have
I
emotion, but don't make it look that bad.
see. I don't like the ninja kicks that Freddy's doing. I don't like the obvious like he once again flies 10 yards. But I like the idea
But
of
it
showing a little bit more physicality of Freddy, just because it's something we haven't
versus
seen before.
adjacent, yeah. But I mean, I can enjoy it. Like I admit it's comical.
But Jason's just like he obviously just doesn't care. Like he has no cares in the world. Like he's a tank. He's in the end you're gonna lose. He's just not, there's no hustle. He's just like, well, it's on my agenda today. I have to kill you, so that's what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? There's no like, look, you have to kill him in 30 seconds.
Yeah. What was with that wannabe Robin Williams accent there?
Right? It was really weird. It was like a New York, New Jersey accent thing.
I did always like this. Like I
Yeah,
thought that this was a really cool random
using his
like
surroundings to kind of yeah.
whoever did the
Well, this is
design for this was really good.
Well, this is all filler too. I mean, literally. I mean, once Jason gets a hold of Freddy, it's over. But yeah, this really accents Freddy's intelligence. And then they're
You
like,
sing
"Oh yeah, it's the
intelligence
last
and
20
things.
minutes of the movie. Let's use the rest of the blood. Just dump it all."
Whoop. As somebody who's looked out for errors in movies, here in a second you'll be able to see Robert Englund's back and stomach that are not burned.
I remember the back. I don't
Small
remember the
little
stomach.
details. But seeing Jason take that like just full on hits like nobody's business. Comical,
What?
but
What?
effective.
They should have gone like 7 or 8 feet tops, but he just got hit like 35 yards.
Yeah.
Like that's
And
the
if
only
I was
thing I.
Freddy, I'd be like, no, I gotta go. I gotta
Right.
go.
I'd be jumping in the water, swimming away.
Also, now that Freddy's human, this is like the most brutal whooping he's gotten, and he's somehow still standing through it, which doesn't make sense. Like he got
Well,
knocked. dead
he's
for
still
less.
he. I think he's still superhuman. I think he's still like. I think he has human. I think he's in the real world, like physically. And god dang, did that machete just fold because it's a prop? But I think he's still superhuman for the most part. Like he's as superhuman as Jason,
See, like
without.
the finger thing, I always thought that was a clever move. When I saw that in theaters and he reached up just to swipe his fingers,
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like it's little things like that that are super effective that work for the movie.
Well, in this movie was like, I don't know if we're getting a sequel, so just do whatever you got to do. Just wreck the whole thing. Cut his head off, cut his legs off, whatever. Just do what you got to do. Like he just put two like blades in his eyeballs.
And he's gonna have eyes at the end scene, by the way.
Right.
Which, if H2 bugs you so much,
But Jason's different. Like you said, the consistency and the
the
chronological blah blah
continuity is
blahs,
way
they don't
different.
have anything to do with this franchise.
And technically,
Jason,
Jason X, they say he regenerates, so.
right, exactly. So, but Jason X takes place after this, obviously. So, um, yeah, it's Jason. I mean, seeing slow mo here is so good. Like, he just
Yeah.
ran his nub fingers into Freddy. I freaking.
You know,
Uh,
when I saw it in theaters, I could have sworn that he pulled out Freddy's heart. I don't know why. And still to this day, I've always thought that I saw that in theaters. And I don't think I did. And
that'd been cool.
that explosion didn't look great.
No, but
Also,
it's
the
better than
scene
somebody
coming
just
up on
getting
the
hit.
water when he dropped in the Freddy. When the scene comes up on the water and they drop the machete, I don't know why, but the way it was filmed always reminds me of like a B movie. Like it looks fake, or like I don't know if it's like the grain that they used or if they switched up cameras or what. But
It's kind
at
of
the
weird how it
very
like floats away, sinks.
yeah, and also like the water, the like kind of the I guess the pixelation on the water looks weird.
There's something about this little tramp stamp tattoo that always threw me off in this scene. I don't know why. It just feels like it came out of nowhere, and it's very, very distracting. This is a good little suspenseful, like, who is it?
And I do like that they do who you would immediately not think. Like
Right.
and awesome. Jason's like, that's all I got.
I'm
Good
done.
night.
Once again, the machete's like an extra, 26 inches too long.
So
But
that's actually a prop that I really want for my Freddy versus Jason cosplay is an accurate Freddy versus Jason machete because it's like 5 or 6 inches longer than all the other like Jason prop
other than
machetes.
2009's. Oh, and then she just whack. Kind of a
But see this
callback to the
water.
original Friday the 13th.
See this on the water? How it looks like I don't know. It feels weird. Like it feels like the scene changed.
It feels like Deep Blue Sea.
Dude, yeah. Speaking of movies I haven't seen in a long time.
It's on Netflix. I just watched it this week.
I
Seeing
really
Jason's
don't
eyes
understand.
back. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take a little nap now. I'm a little tired.
I really don't understand why people hate it so much because I've seen so for a long time I never heard anybody hated it. And then social media came out, and in the words of Ben Affleck from Jay and Silent Bob, the internet is a place where people go to bitch about movies. Um, it's really true. This movie gets a lot of hate from people. And do you realize how lucky you are to live in a world where you're a horror fan and you got the movie? Like,
Right. And
and
this
they
might
didn't
never,
mess everything up.
right. And
Like,
this might never happen again.
from a nightmare standpoint, it's a Freddy film with the lowest amount of Freddy kills. From a Friday the 13th standpoint, it's a Freddy film with a Jason that doesn't embody the character normally. So I can get there. But look at that. The end scene, the like cracked mask, which also this is not King Kritzinger. This is actually the gentleman who's going to be taking over playing Jason in the Never Hike Alone series. And I cannot
DeSanti's
remember.
not doing it anymore?
He's not going to be playing Jason. He's going to be directing. He
Why?
got the actor who did this end scene.
Okay. Kind of
My
weird.
guess is time management for the project.
All right. And then it
Here
goes,
we go into El
bam,
Nino. How can I live?
right back into the rock and roll, man.
Dude, El Nino was so like back in the I'm gonna go off on a metal tangent because that's who I am. Back in like 99 through 2004 when new metal was the big deal because of Slipknot and like Limp Bizkit and Lamb of God and all of these other new metal bands. I remember El Nino was one of the like gateway bands for people, and I always used to act like I didn't like them because I was too cool for that. And no, I actually have like 3 El Nino CDs somewhere around here. But yeah, no, the soundtrack is great. The costume design is on point. The cinematography has some hits or misses, but I feel like for a director who was like, I respect the Nightmare franchise and I don't like the Friday the 13th franchise, we got lucky. We got really lucky.
Right.
Also, reading through, I haven't finished it yet, and that just says more about me than it should. I haven't finished Slash of the Titans, but I'm a little over halfway. And let me tell you what, some of the scripts that were in there, whoo, buddy, did we get lucky. Now, there's a couple ideas that I really liked, one of which is too meta. It's way too meta to have worked to make fans happy, but it was about these teens who get dropped off at Camp Crystal Lake or go party there or something like that, and these killings start happening, and they pull a Roy Burns on you where like they're actually like not all there mentally and they're spacing out and they're the murderers, but they feel like they're surviving the murders, and one is embodying Freddy, one is embodying Jason. And I thought that idea was actually super fun and could make a super cool fan film. Or, I mean, it'll never get play enough to be a real film, but I really like that one. But then there's some weird ones like Cult of Freddy, which arguably we've already seen cult movies that work so well for Halloween.
Cult of Freddy was interesting from what I know, like how they burn themselves and all that other stuff, and how they bring him back to life. Like, it's an interesting thought, but yeah, I don't know if it plays.
Interesting, but it's one of those things that never should have been pitched as a legit idea, in my opinion. That's like something. So somebody hands you a project and says you need to go through and we need you to build this, and you have about 5 ideas. Normally, at least 2 of those are complete throwaways, and I feel like Cult of Freddy would be the throwaway.
I think the only horror mashup that I can, in my mind, really make work is Pinhead and Freddy, just because the Necronomicon, the box, and Freddy being a dream demon, I could see how that would be connected. That makes sense to me. Freddy rebels and goes away, and Pinhead has to go back and recollect Freddy because he's not doing a good enough job collecting souls or whatever it is. That makes sense to me, and that would work. Freddy, if you could get somehow Pinhead in a dream sequence, something like that, to where Freddy can be fully powered and go against Pinhead. Like think of a movie where Freddy is jacking up like the other Cenobites, and Pinhead has to step up and like take on Freddy one on one. I think that could be really cool. I think you get a couple random human beings in there to kill off, but I think that could be really cool. As far as like other mashups, I don't want to see Michael versus Jason because I know how that's going to play out. Everybody knows how that plays out. They did a fan film on it that's like 30, 45 minutes long, whatever it is. Plays out exactly how you would expect it. I could see Leprechaun versus Chucky just because of the voodoo things being a little bit more expanded on, but you'd have to tone down the Leprechaun's powers quite a bit, or you'd have to just have him going through random Chucky dolls, just like basically like the Matrix Reloaded, where he's just like destroying Chucky dolls left and right. But really, I think the horror mashups are just not a good place to go. And really, and on paper, like this movie should have never happened because Freddy and Jason are completely different beings that never should have matched up.
The only reason that they were able to make it work is back in the 80s, Paramount started disliking that they were making money off of the Friday the 13th franchise. They considered it sleazy and trashy. And once they were able to sell it, they did immediately. And New Line, being the house that Freddy built, somehow got the bid. And the day they got Friday the 13th, they wanted those two franchises against each other, but can never come to an agreement. And even before then, it was pitched before, but New Line's like, well, Freddy has to win. And Paramount was like, no, Jason has to win. And that's why it never went anywhere. I mean, Friday 7 was originally supposed to be Freddy versus Jason. And it didn't happen. So then they did Carrie versus Jason, but it's not Carrie. And it's probably the coolest looking Jason. No, it is the coolest looking Jason that we've ever gotten to this day.
Right. I think so too. I agree on that. Yeah, I love this movie. I think it came out I don't know. It came out in a weird time, but I think it obviously did really well. It did $114 million off a $30 million budget. I wish we would have got a sequel to it, but I'm happy we got what we got because Robert Englund that dude signed up for a lot. Like, he did a lot of movies. Like, you know what I mean? In a 20, just shy of 20 year span, what more do you want from the guy, right? I mean, and at a time where you really couldn't risk putting in another Freddy to do a Freddy versus Jason. If this was a send-off, it was a really good send-off, in my opinion. I love this movie. Oh, real quick before I forget, who do you think won at the end of this movie?
Jason.
Thank God. I was expecting this huge argument. Like, you asked me earlier on in the day, I said, no, let's save it for the live stream. No, Jason won.
So Jason won the physical battle. However, that wink does nod to the fact that Freddy is aware, he's self-conscious, he's
it's not over.
To figure out something else, which means that, like, from a mental standpoint, maybe I could see Freddy being the winner, but no, through this fight, that was Jason. I mean, he just put Freddy's glove through his chest.
Now, what I would love to see nowadays, because of all the technology we have and what we can do, I think it'd really cool to do think of like a Toy Story CGI, right? But like I don't know, do it like a comic booky feel, like Sin City almost, but more CGI. To do Robert Englund as the voice of Freddy, and then you could have Kane Hodder do the what do they call it? The CGI bodysuit to create his version of Jason, and then put Ash in there using Bruce Campbell's voice. Let's go ahead and do a sequel to this. This is why I don't understand, like, these horror movies right now with horror nostalgia is at an all-time high. I don't understand doing like Robert Englund. He cannot be that expensive to wrap up this, to do a sequel to Freddy vs. Jason. Could not be. Kane Hodder could not be that expensive. Bruce Campbell cannot be that expensive. You're talking like do a CGI, do a solid hour and 10-minute movie sequel to this movie. Do exactly how they had it scripted and ready to go. Like they go from Camp Crystal Lake, they go to uh, S-Mart, right? They see Ash. You put in the Necronomicon. Freddy takes over Jason for a minute. Then they separate. It becomes this whole thing. Like it just would not be that hard to do an hour and 10-minute movie to wrap this up. I don't know if everybody would want that, but I think it'd be fun and it wouldn't be too expensive. With everybody streaming now, it seems like something that would be cheap that you could do on streaming and create a lot of buzz. I think with all the buzz right now and the crave for the nostalgia, like I really think that this would be an easy money grab. I mean, I don't know, but
I agree, but instead we're getting Scream 5.
oh God, Scream is my favorite franchise. My favorite franchise, and that for all the faults, for all the inconsistencies, like it's interesting because in the Scream franchise, it's the heroes, right? It's the good guys of the movie that make the franchise. It's not Ghostface, which is strange because in most horror movies, it's the bad guy that makes the franchise. There's really not a whole lot of people that stick around. I don't want any more because by the fifth movie, your heroes have to die. Somebody's gonna die, and they're not right now where there's a lot of money in these movies. I guarantee you, it's not Scream 5. Obviously, it's not Scream 5. It's just Scream. They didn't even call it Scream 5. So if this movie, if it doesn't go full meta, you're gonna see Gale die. You're probably gonna see Dewey die at the end of this movie, or you'll see Sidney die, and then you'll see Gale die, and then Dewey will be the one left. Two out of the three are going down in this movie. It would be my guess on it. I have no faith in Scream 5. I don't want it because I think, to me, I didn't even really need Scream 4. I like 1, 2, and 3 and call it a day. Like I don't even really need Scream 4. I didn't even really need Scream 2, to be honest. But
I will say I'm happy to add another movie to the franchise of all of my horror franchises, but at some point I do look up and I go, do we need it though? Do we need it? Like, I mean, like the fact that there's a Ring versus Grudge movie, why? I mean, I want to watch it, but why is that a thing?
that's
You
an
know,
actual like franchise owned movie.
yeah, it's from the like the original like Ringu, and I can't think of what the Grudge is called because I am an ignorant American.
Well, I think that
Uh,
is the Ringu, isn't it?
no,
Or is
Ringu is
Ringu?
the ring.
Okay, yeah, I get confused on that too.
Uh, but
I can
yeah,
see.
the
Isn't it Jew something Jew? Ah, yeah, I
can't
don't
remember.
remember. I can see the head of the box of the movie, but I can't remember it.
Yeah, I can't either.
Nah, it's gone.
Speaking of original um, Japanese, or actually, speaking of original Asian made films that America went and remade, I still need to watch this, Pulse. The American version, I remember hating. I was just like bored to tears with it. But I picked this up at Dollar Tree 6, 8 months ago. You saw it there too, probably.
I think I
There
bought
were
it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, there were like 15 copies, and I actually happened to just stumble on, I think, a Reddit thread about this version of the film. And there's a lot of people talking about the fact that this movie is actually really, really good and that it needs to be given the time of day. And I've been wanting to watch it. I just haven't had the time. I've got so many unwrapped movies on this shelf. Um, but I don't know. I want new entries into my franchises, but I also don't. It's a weird place to be.
Right. That's why I was thinking, like, what if you just did a what if, where you just did this comic book fever dream, like, look, what if we took off from part 2, 3, 4, 5, and you just did one season of, if we took over from 2, or we did a prequel and we took off from there, and we did a 2, 3, 4, and then you go back and, like, what if we did a sequel to our remake concept, and you just kept doing that and you kept building on. If you do it right, I think it could be really, really interesting. Or if you just did one full season, but the problem is I think you would have to do a little bit of a blast stuff like that, because I don't think you could do, like, what if we did a complete new story from 3, and then the next season we did a complete new story from 4. I think you would lose people, maybe. I don't know. It depends on how you do it. You'd have to do it in short bursts, like something really cool for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then on to the next episode. Something to really keep people on edge waiting for it. But it could be interesting. But yeah, God, this has been my favorite. I freaking love this. Comes to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. This is high up on my list. When it comes to Friday the 13th, this is high up on my list. I mean, there's some negatives there, but there's little quick edits I could have made. I could have just deleted a few scenes, and this movie would go up from an 8 to a 10. Not saying it's an 8. I'm just saying a couple little adjustments, and this movie is perfect in my eyes. For, once again, like you said, we shouldn't even have this movie. Low expectations. I can't believe it's even out there. I appreciate every second of this movie. Freaking love it.
And it's crazy to think how many roadblocks this movie itself had, and then it got made, because so many films get those kind of roadblocks and then just never see the light of day. There's even some that are made sitting on a shelf somewhere that we just don't have access to because they're not wanting to put the money to do the release.
That blows my mind. To be honest with you, with the financial success, I would assume anyway, of the Snyder Cut, I'm really surprised that they haven't greenlit some of this old stuff that's just sitting on a shelf. Like, hey, let's go edit this a little bit, throw a couple dollars at it, and then we'll release it. We'll sell it to Netflix, and we'll pump it on there.
Like, I'm shocked Shudder hasn't gotten the rights, because it's been a conversation here and there, but the Chop Top Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, like, it's been on a back burner for, God, since the mid-90s, I want to say. It's there somewhere. Nobody can gain access to it. 2 companies fought over it for a while. Then it just got shelved because nobody could figure out who owned the rights to it. Then there was a campaign to, like, financially finish it, like people pouring in money. Then that fell through and they refunded the money, and then silence again. And it's like, with horror nostalgia, like you said, being at this all-time high, and Bill Moseley at this point has reached a level of horror stardom that very few get to reach. I'm sure even if it is bad, like even if it's terrible, there are going to be people who appreciate the fact that, well, we got it.
Right.
We got it.
Right. I think that's something where it's really interesting. I think that it does need, like, certain things like that would need a bit more crowdfunding. And then, like, you get a Blu-ray, and then if we can actually get this thing made, then we will put it up on a streaming service, something a little bit more than just YouTube for free. But yeah, I still think Bill Moseley, and I love Bill Moseley as Chop Top, as Otis, and as the other movies he's done. I really like him. I still think to the average person, though, he's a B-lister. I think to the people in the community, he's an A-lister, but I still think he's a bit of a, like, he's not a Linda Blair, like, right? Like, he just never will be. Like, you cannot, he's not Kane Hodder. He's not he's not Nancy.
I would put him in a similar level as Kane Hodder. And those two actually do piggyback a lot of things together.
Right.
I would say that Bill Moseley, I mean, he's not like Robert Englund levels of famous, but he has this recognition among the horror community, this respect for what he's done, because, and even people who don't like his character as Otis, which he was totally cast for, you can tell because of what he brought to Chop Top. Like, he brought that same energy to those two characters. And I feel like even people who don't like Otis can recognize like the brutality of his character and notice that takes a lot to go through and make those two films and be that guy. And then he's so nice and so humble in person. Like, I even listened to an interview with him, and instead of talking about like things that made him his status, he more talked about like growing up on like where he grew up, and then like working on a farm till he got his first real acting gig. And then when he made the spoof Texas Chainsaw film that wound up gaining Tobe Hooper's interest for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And then he talks about getting the phone call where they were like, hey, we have a character for you in Texas Chainsaw. And he's like, what? Like,
Right.
he talks more about where he came from than where he is. And it's just the way he does it that's so, like, it's reassuring in a way. Like, to, like, a normie that, like, a normal, average, everyday person can wind up, if they go that route, can find things like that. It's just nice. It's really nice. Whereas I feel like some of the other celebrities kind of just go, yeah, this is my role in this movie.
Right. You know what's interesting is like had they actually put out Texas Chainsaw Massacre in say 84 in the height of horror craze instead of 86 in its decline, and had they taken it a little bit more serious and adjusted it just a little bit, the tone, we'd be talking about a completely different, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love TCM too for all of its faults, for all of its comedy, for all that. But like, had you rewound that 2 years before and adjusted the tone a little bit, you're talking about a completely different Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise from there out. You're talking about different reception, all that stuff. It's crazy on how much between greenlighting and forcing Tobe Hooper, how much that franchise suffered because it just missed the boat by just a little bit. Like the difference between 74 and 86, and like and taking him to get that long to get there, and the like he was ahead of his time for the comedy that he put in TCM2, but not at the right time. He wasn't there. Like he should have been. Like he was ahead of the curve by about 6-8 years, right? It's really interesting stuff to think about that movie. But anyway, we'll get back to finishing up Freddy vs. Jason here. But anyway, love the movie. If you guys are watching this after the fact, we really appreciate it. Stay with us. We're going to do more of these commentaries. It's just easier for us with our crazy lives, and it's a lot of fun to just sit here and talk about the movie while we watch it instead of watching it and then recapping it and write a whole script. It's just a lot easier to go this way.
It's also fun to talk about Rob Zombie during that film that's not a Rob Zombie film.
Oh my God. You are gonna like be punished for every time you bring up Rob Zombie in a movie that has nothing to do with Rob Zombie. You're gonna have like a Everclear bottle, and every time you take a shot, or every time you do that, you take a shot. Or I'm gonna make you do like a swear jar, and like every time you bring up Rob Zombie, you got to put $1 into the jar.
Every time I bring up Rob Zombie, I'm gonna recite the F word 15 times.
And for every one of those, I need $1, and I'm gonna upgrade my mic and my camera and everything else. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I think we're gonna bounce now. We're at about 2.5 hours, so that's a pretty good stopping point.
Wow, we went for a while.
Yeah, no, it was fun though. I had a blast.
Yeah.
Like I love all of our commentaries up till now, but this one was just a little bit more like it's goofy, it's fun. I got a lot of nostalgia. Freaking love this movie. And I think I said everything I've got. And yeah, for all of its faults, it's amazing. But thanks for watching this, guys. Make sure and check out our other videos. We got plenty back there. We've been doing this now for over 2 years, I think. So lots to check out. And we will get this up soon, and there'll be more to come. So happy Friday the 13th. Thanks for tuning. Until next time, JK out.